Hi everyone. In today's video, we will start creating the values for the new sales budget application we have been developing. In our previous video, we created the fields. Let's click on the Value tab in the same application and hit Load. In this screen, we will define the values of the application. Before we start defining the value, I'm creating a new perspective for last year actual. And I'm defining the measures I will connect the values to. Sales unit, sales revenue, sales initial revenue, sales cost, gross margin percentage, average unit initial price, average unit retail price, average unit cost, markdown percentage, initial markup, and markup measures. Now, by clicking on the Create Values button in the Open Wizard, I select Create for Perspective and specify which perspective and which metrics I will define from the drop-down. When I click OK, it will create the values showing the measures I selected for the last year actual perspective. Now we will create the pool to get the last year actual data. For this, I go to the Pool tab and click Load. We will see the pools I previously defined. Using the new Pool Wizard procedure, I will create a new pool named Last Year Actual for the last year actual data. I choose connection as Blue Earth. From the actual schema, I will use the View Sales Last Year view that was previously prepared in the database. But first, let's click Load Data to see the contents of this view. As you can see, this view contains detailed data based on store, brand, category, main group, product group, and date. It also includes the necessary merch year, merch month, sales season, and sales channel information. I can't use it as it is, but I can write an inner command instead. For this, I select inner command as the source instead of table/view. In the Source Text tab, I write the SQL statement that will provide the data I need. Select Brand ID, Category ID, Main Group ID, Product Group ID, Sales Channel ID, Sales Season ID, Merch Year, Merch Month, Sum Sales Unit as Sales Unit, Sum Sales Revenue as Sales Revenue, Sum Sales Initial Revenue as Sales Initial Revenue, Sum Sales Cost as Sales Cost. From Actual.View Sales Last Year. And group by same as select fields. Now, let's see the data. Brand ID, Category ID, Main Group ID, Product Group ID, and the fields we need are here. By clicking Auto Set Key Fields, I let it automatically define how the pool will connect with the fields. Again, by clicking Auto Set Filters, I define how the pool will connect with the Workspace filters. It will connect via brand, sales channel, and sales season. I define its scope as application. I set refresh time to on filter change. When we click OK, it's ready. I go back to the Values tab and click Load to see the newly created pool. And I define that these values are connected to the last year actual pool. Now, for the last year's actual sales unit values DB field name, I write sales unit, indicating that it will be fed by the data coming from the database. Similarly, for last year's actual sales revenue, sales initial revenue, and sales cost. The other fields, however, are not coming from the database. I will write formulas for these. To indicate that the formula we will write is an Excel function, I write XLS function, open and close parentheses, and write a valid Excel function inside the parentheses. But instead of cell references like A1, B1, we use notations representing the values. For the gross margin formula, I open and close square brackets and write the metric name we will use inside the brackets. Last year's actual sales revenue, minus last year's actual sales cost. For gross margin percentage, I will write XLS function again. But this time, my formula will be last year's actual gross margin divided by sales revenue. Since there is a division, to avoid a division by zero error, I wrap my formula in if error. If there is an error like division by zero, it will write 0. Similarly, for average unit initial price, I write sales initial revenue divided by sales unit. For average unit price, I write sales revenue divided by sales unit. For average unit cost, I write sales cost divided by sales unit. For markdown percentage, I define the formula as 1 minus sales revenue divided by sales initial revenue. The initial markup formula will be sales initial revenue divided by sales cost. The markup formula is similarly sales revenue divided by sales cost. We ensure that the square brackets are present. We will also specify how the subtotals should be calculated in the places where subtotals are taken. Since sales unit, sales revenue, sales initial revenue, and sales cost metrics are summable metrics, by writing sum, I indicate that it will automatically sum them up. We can use simple aggregate formulas like average and count here. For gross margin percentage, and the other metrics below, I can use the same formulas I used in detail in the subtotal. All that remains is to specify the type of metrics. All my metrics will be float. And for gross margin percentage and markdown percentage, I specify that the display format is a percentage. Yes, all these values will be editable false and savable false. Thus, we have defined our last year's actual metrics. In our next video, we will define the views to see the last year's actual data in our application and run the application. Stay safe.